The alien princess tries to keep her cool when meeting a human soldier. The city below sparkled with towers of translucent metal and floating bridges that curved gracefully over wide canals. At the center of this majestic world stood the palace, a structure that seemed to grow from the land itself, its walls glowing faintly with the energy of the planet. Inside the palace, Princess Liara stood at a high balcony, her gaze sweeping over the city. Liara had been trained all her life to be composed, wise, and graceful. Every movement she made was precise, every word carefully measured. Diplomacy was her duty, and she prided herself on her ability to remain calm, no matter the situation. Yet today she felt a strange flutter of curiosity and unease. A delegation from a faraway planet, Earth, was arriving, and among them was a human soldier. Humans were rare in the galaxy, and even rarer were those who traveled for diplomatic purposes. Liara had studied them in her academy, reading every report and analysis she could find. They were strong, adaptable, and unpredictable, but also fascinating in their simplicity and courage. Still, reading about humans was very different from meeting one in person. Her personal communicator buzzed softly, drawing her attention. "Your Highness," said her aide, a small hovering device that emitted a polite blue light. "The delegation has entered the orbit of Zarafin. The human soldier is among them." Liara's chest tightened slightly. She nodded. "Very well, prepare the welcoming chamber." Her voice was calm, but inside, a storm of curiosity raged. She had never met a human before, and she was determined to remain composed, no matter how strange or amusing he might be. Minutes later, a sleek shuttle descended from orbit. Its design was utilitarian, with smooth silver panels and bright blue lights that pulsed as it slowed its approach. Liara watched intently as the hatch opened, and the humans emerged. Most of them wore formal uniforms, but one figure stood out immediately. He was tall, with broad shoulders and a confident stance. His eyes were bright and intelligent, and there was an easy, natural way he carried himself. Liara's heart skipped a beat. She reminded herself sharply, "Composed, Liara, you are the princess." The human soldier approached with a polite bow, though it was clearly his attempt at mimicking alien etiquette. "Greetings, Princess Liara," he said in a clear, steady voice. "I am Captain Ethan Ray. It is an honor to meet you and visit your planet." Liara inclined her head gracefully. "Captain Ray, welcome to Zarafin. Your journey must have been long. Please allow me to assist you in adjusting to our customs." She spoke smoothly, but she felt a small smile tugging at her lips. The human's voice was so different, so simple, yet it carried a warmth she had not expected. Ethan's eyes scanned the palace as he followed her lead, a mixture of awe and amusement in his expression. "Thank you, Princess. Your city, it's unlike anything I imagined. I never thought I'd see towers that glow like the sky itself." Liara's eyes twinkled. "Yes, our architecture is designed to harmonize with the natural energy of Zarafin. We value balance and beauty in all things." She paused, observing him carefully. He seemed genuinely fascinated and not the least bit intimidated. That was unusual for humans. Most visitors from other planets were cautious or even fearful when meeting a royal. Ethan, however, appeared curious. As they walked through the palace halls, Liara noticed the subtle ways Ethan moved. He seemed confident yet unpretentious. Unlike her people who moved with strict, measured steps, he was natural and easygoing. Every gesture, every glance seemed to radiate authenticity. Liara felt a strange tug in her chest. She quickly reminded herself to remain calm. The halls of the palace were adorned with floating crystals that displayed soft, holographic images of Zarafin's history. Ethan reached out, his fingers hovering near a glowing crystal, and tilted his head. "These are incredible. Do they tell stories?" Liara nodded. "Yes. They record our history and knowledge. Each crystal contains the memories of our ancestors. You may observe them if you wish, but please do not touch without permission." He smiled politely. "Of course." His eyes lingered on the crystals, and Liara noticed a faint fascination in his expression. He was respectful, yet clearly fascinated. She felt a flicker of amusement at the way he tilted his head, trying to understand everything at once. They entered a grand chamber where the delegation would be formally welcomed. Other aliens from neighboring planets were already present, their varied forms creating a colorful and lively scene. Liara led Ethan to a place of honor beside her. As they waited for the official ceremony to begin, she found herself stealing glances at him. He was observing everything with quiet interest, occasionally whispering questions to his translator device. He asked about the plants, the floating lights, and even the color patterns on the walls. Liara answered with patience, explaining customs and traditions. She expected him to be polite but distant, yet he seemed genuinely engaged. "Princess Liara," Ethan asked softly, "if you don't mind me asking, how do you remain so calm with so many eyes on you?" Liara tilted her head slightly, caught off guard. She had been trained to project calm, but no one had ever asked her this question in such a direct, human way. "It is a matter of discipline and focus," she replied carefully. "A princess must maintain composure for the sake of her people." Ethan nodded slowly. "I see. On my planet, soldiers are trained to remain calm under pressure, but this is different. You make it seem effortless." Liara felt a small, almost imperceptible blush. She quickly shifted her attention to the ceremony preparations. Effortless, she thought. She wished she could convince herself it was so. The ceremony began, and Liara gracefully performed her role, greeting dignitaries and explaining the protocols. Ethan followed her lead, bowing where appropriate and smiling politely. Occasionally, he would glance at her, and she caught the faint spark of admiration in his eyes. She found herself wishing she could learn more about him, yet she reminded herself firmly, a princess cannot let curiosity show too clearly. After the ceremony, Liara escorted Ethan to the palace gardens, a serene area filled with floating flowers and crystal-clear streams. The air was sweet with the scent of alien blooms, and soft sunlight filtered through translucent leaves. Ethan seemed mesmerized. This is incredible," he said, moving slowly to take in the view. "I've never seen anything like it on Earth. I didn't expect a planet to be this alive." Liara smiled faintly. "Zarafan thrives on harmony between life and energy. Our gardens are a reflection of that balance. Humans are very different, yet I sense you appreciate it." Ethan turned to her, his expression sincere. "I do, it's calming, and I can see why your people value it so much. You've created something beautiful here." Liara felt a warmth in her chest at his words. She tried to maintain her regal composure, but for a brief moment, she let herself enjoy the sincerity. It was refreshing to meet someone who admired her world without ulterior motives, without politics or strategy in mind. They continued walking, and Ethan occasionally asked questions about the plants, the streams, and even the sounds in the garden. Liara answered thoughtfully, noticing the gentle humor in his curiosity. He asked questions in a straightforward, human way, sometimes stumbling over their alien names, which made her smile quietly to herself. As the suns began to set, casting a soft, golden glow over the garden, Liara realized something important. Humans, despite their differences, were remarkably adaptable. They had a kind of courage and curiosity that her people sometimes lacked. And this human, Captain Ethan Ray, was proof of that. Yet, as much as she was intrigued, she reminded herself to stay composed. She was a princess, and diplomacy came first. She must not let her curiosity or admiration show too openly. But as she watched Ethan's relaxed, genuine smile, she knew it would be difficult to keep her composure completely. The day ended with a quiet, formal dinner in the palace. Ethan sat beside her, asking questions politely and sharing small stories of his life on Earth. Liara listened, intrigued by his experiences and perspective. She noted the way he respected traditions while remaining authentic to himself. It was admirable. By the time the dinner concluded, Liara realized that this meeting was unlike any she had experienced before. A human soldier had arrived on her planet, and in just a few hours he had managed to intrigue, amuse, and impress her, all without even trying. She returned to her balcony that night, looking out over the city as it glittered beneath the twin moons. "This human is different," she thought. "Perhaps there is more to them than I have been told." And as she settled into her quarters, Liara felt a quiet excitement for what was to come. She would need to keep her cool, yes, but she could not deny that the human soldier had already left a lasting impression. The next morning, the twin sons of Zarafan rose together, casting a soft golden glow over the city. Princess Liara woke early, her mind filled with thoughts of Captain Ethan Ray. She had spent the previous evening replaying their conversations, marveling at the ease with which he had adapted to the palace's etiquette. And yet, she knew that today, as she personally guided him through the city, her composure might be tested even further. Liara dressed in a flowing gown made of shimmering threads that reflected the morning light. Her reflection in the crystalline window showed her perfectly poised form, but inside a small flutter of nervous excitement stirred. She reminded herself, "You are a princess. Stay composed." The palace doors opened to reveal Ethan waiting patiently, dressed in his formal uniform. He smiled politely when he saw her. "Good morning, Princess Liara. I'm ready to explore more of your city." Liara inclined her head. "Good morning, Captain Ray. I trust you slept well." "Yes, very well," he replied. "Though I must admit, sleeping in a room with walls that glow softly is unusual but comforting." She allowed herself a small smile. "Zarafin values harmony even in rest. Let us begin our tour. I will show you aspects of the city not visible from the palace." The streets of Zarafin were unlike anything Ethan had seen before. They were wide and smooth, with pathways that hovered slightly above the ground, supported by invisible energy fields. Buildings curved gracefully, their walls transparent in places, revealing bustling interiors filled with merchants, artists, and citizens of all kinds. Holographic signs floated in the air, displaying useful information and subtle patterns that delighted the eyes. Ethan moved cautiously, observing everything. "It's incredible," he said softly. "The architecture, it feels alive, like it's growing with the city rather than built on it." Liara nodded. "Our city is designed to harmonize with the energy of the planet. Each structure contributes to the flow of life and knowledge here. Humans are different, I believe, but I sense you appreciate such balance." Ethan glanced at her, his brow slightly raised. "Different, yes, but I do appreciate it. On Earth, most cities are rigid and artificial. This feels natural." Liara noticed the way he marveled at even the smallest details. A hovering flower, a stream of flowing energy along the street, the way citizens greeted one another with subtle gestures. She felt a quiet amusement. Humans were curious, yes, but Ethan's curiosity was genuine and heartfelt. He did not judge. He merely observed, asked questions, and learned. Their first stop was a marketplace unlike any Ethan had imagined. Vendors floated above their stalls, displaying fruits and vegetables that glowed softly, fabrics that shimmered like liquid, and small devices that hummed with energy. Liara guided Ethan carefully, explaining customs and encouraging him to observe. "This fruit," she said, pointing to a glowing orange orb, "is called lumina. It absorbs sunlight and energy from the environment, storing it for nourishment. Humans may eat it safely, though it tastes different from your earth fruits." Ethan picked up a lumina carefully and sniffed it. "Interesting, it's sweet, but also has a kind of warm glow in flavor, very unique." Liara could not suppress a small laugh. "Your description is unusual but accurate." As they continued through the marketplace, Ethan tried to follow the etiquette, bowing lightly and observing how citizens interacted. Yet, despite his careful attention, small mishaps occurred. He accidentally touched a floating display, causing it to flicker. Liara quickly intervened, adjusting the energy field and giving him a gentle, composed smile. "It's okay," Ethan said sheepishly. "I did not mean to disrupt it." Liara replied with a polite tone, though she found the situation amusing. "It is only a minor disruption. You will learn our customs with time. Humans are not expected to master them instantly." They laughed softly together. The sound was light and easy, a small bridge forming between their cultures. Liara felt her earlier nervousness easing. Ethan's genuine curiosity and humility made it easy to enjoy his company. Next, Liara led him to the Hall of Knowledge, a vast library where floating books and holographic records filled the air with knowledge from thousands of years. Ethan's eyes widened in amazement. "All of this, it's incredible. How do you manage to organize it?" Liara smiled. "The knowledge is organized through a combination of energy alignment and careful indexing. It is difficult to explain in human terms, but it is designed so that anyone who seeks information may find it efficiently." Ethan nodded slowly, absorbing every detail. "I wish we had something like this on Earth. Most libraries are static. They don't interact with the reader like this." Liara observed him thoughtfully. Humans had their own ways of learning and adapting. Ethan's appreciation for knowledge was similar to her own, though his methods were more direct and practical. It was refreshing to see someone so eager to understand, rather than merely observing politely. As they moved through the hall, Ethan accidentally triggered a floating projection, which displayed a holographic scene of ancient Zarafin battles. His eyes widened slightly. I didn't touch anything, I swear," he said quickly. Liara looked at him, a small spark of amusement in her eyes. Do not worry, the projections respond to nearby movement. You have only activated it. It is a common occurrence for first-time visitors. Ethan chuckled. I suppose I am clumsy in new environments. You are not clumsy, Liara replied. You are human. Your presence is unique here, and that is appreciated. They continued, and Liara began to notice subtle patterns in his behavior. He asked questions thoughtfully, noticed small details that others overlooked, and reacted with curiosity rather than fear or judgment. She felt a quiet admiration growing within her. Humans, she realized, were capable of seeing things differently and adapting quickly, often in ways her people could not. After leaving the Hall of Knowledge, Liara guided Ethan to a section of the city known for its floating gardens. Here, plants of every shape and color hovered gently in midair, sustained by energy fields. Streams of water flowed upwards and curved around the gardens, defying gravity in a way that made Ethan's eyes widen with delight. Princess Liara, this is amazing, he said, moving carefully among the floating plants. It's unlike anything I've seen. On Earth, gardens are flat, grounded. Here, it's alive in a completely different way. Liara nodded, pleased by his reaction. Zarafin thrives on harmony between energy and life. These gardens are a reflection of that philosophy. They require care and balance, just as our society does. Ethan paused near a flower that glowed softly blue. He extended a hand but hesitated, unsure if he was allowed to touch it. Liara smiled gently. You may observe, but touching is best reserved for those trained in the care of these plants. He withdrew his hand, still fascinated. I understand, it's respectful, I like that. On Earth, people often take things for granted. Here, everything seems valued. Liara felt a small warmth in her chest. His insight, simple yet accurate, revealed a depth she had not expected. Humans, she thought, were capable of both respect and curiosity in equal measure, a combination that was rare in her world. As the suns began to descend, casting long shadows across the city, Liara decided to introduce Ethan to a traditional Zarafin custom. The dance of the energy streams, a ceremonial movement designed to reflect harmony between the body and the planet's energy. Ethan watched carefully as Liara demonstrated the flowing gestures, her movements graceful and precise. Then he tried to mimic them, a bit awkwardly at first. You move well for someone untrained, Liara said softly, suppressing a small laugh. It is unusual for humans to attempt this with confidence. Ethan grinned. I'm learning from the best, princess, though I must admit it's harder than it looks. Liara nodded, allowing herself a moment of lightheartedness. Indeed. Harmony requires patience, focus, and understanding. You have the first two qualities. Understanding will come with time. As the day ended, Liara felt a quiet satisfaction. Despite minor mishaps and cultural misunderstandings, Ethan had shown respect, curiosity, and adaptability. He was a human, yes, but one who inspired admiration rather than doubt. She found herself looking forward to the next encounter, wondering what more she could learn about him, and what he could learn about her world. Walking back to the palace, side by side with Ethan, Liara reflected on the day. Humans were different, certainly, but they had a unique perspective that was both refreshing and inspiring. In the way he observed, listened, and engaged, Ethan embodied qualities her people valued but sometimes lacked: humility, curiosity, and a willingness to learn without prejudice. Liara realized that this human soldier had not only captured her attention, but had also subtly challenged her assumptions about other species. He had shown that humans could be more than she had been taught. They could be clever, adaptable, and insightful. And as the palace doors closed behind them, Liara allowed herself a small, quiet thought. Perhaps humans are more remarkable than I ever imagined. The day began quietly on Zarafin, with soft light spilling across the crystalline towers. Princess Liara awoke feeling a mixture of excitement and anticipation. Today, she had planned to show Captain Ethan Ray the outskirts of the city, including the famous energy nexus, a place where Zarafin's technology and natural energy intertwined to sustain the city. Ethan, ever punctual and polite, was already waiting in the palace courtyard. He greeted her with a respectful bow and a bright smile. Good morning, Princess Liara. I'm ready for today's adventure. Liara returned his smile with composed grace. Good morning, Captain. Today's tour may be more hands-on than before. The energy nexus is an interactive environment. You must follow my instructions carefully. Ethan nodded, his curiosity evident. I'll do my best. As they moved through the city streets toward the Nexus, Liara noticed how he absorbed every detail. Even minor things, like the way the energy streams curved along the roads or the subtle patterns in the floating flowers, caught his attention. He asked questions about the mechanics and philosophy behind each feature, often making comparisons to Earth. On Earth, he said as they passed a bridge that hovered gracefully over a canal, most bridges are static and rigid. This moves with the energy almost like it's alive. How do you keep it stable? Liara explained patiently. The bridges are stabilized by energy fields tuned to the planet's natural frequency. They respond to weight and motion automatically. It is a blend of technology and natural energy. Ethan's eyes widened. Incredible. I've never seen anything like it. Humans could learn a lot from Zerafin's approach to harmony and engineering. Liara felt a quiet pride at his words, but quickly reminded herself to remain composed. She was a princess, after all, and admiration must be subtle. They arrived at the energy nexus, a vast open space filled with floating platforms, streams of flowing light, and conduits of energy that pulsed rhythmically. Citizens moved gracefully among the structures, performing maintenance and research with precision. Here, Liara began, is where Zerafin's energy is collected, stored, and distributed. It powers the entire city. Today you will observe the process and, if you wish, assist in a minor task. Ethan's face lit up. Assist? I'd be honored. Liara led him to a platform where a small energy module had begun to fluctuate unexpectedly. This module is experiencing minor instability, she explained. It must be recalibrated to maintain balance. I will guide you step by step. Ethan listened carefully as Liara demonstrated the adjustments, moving her hands through the flowing streams of energy. His movements were precise but cautious, and Liara watched him closely. Humans were not naturally attuned to energy fields like her people, yet Ethan adapted quickly. Place your hand here, she instructed, and focus on redirecting the flow gently. Do not force it, but guide it. Ethan followed her directions, feeling the gentle hum of energy through his fingertips. I can feel it. It's strange, but not unpleasant, like the city is breathing through me. Liara nodded, impressed. Good. Now balance the energy by synchronizing with the modules around us. Pay attention to the rhythm. Ethan's brow furrowed slightly in concentration, but he did not hesitate. He observed the modules, noted the changes in flow, and adjusted his hand movements accordingly. Liara found herself surprised by his intuition. Humans might not be born with natural energy sensitivity, but their ability to observe, analyze, and adapt was remarkable. As they worked together, the module's fluctuations began to stabilize. A soft glow returned, spreading evenly through the conduits. Ethan's face lit up with pride. We did it, he said, smiling broadly. Liara allowed herself a small smile. Indeed, your focus and adaptability were excellent. Most first-time visitors would have struggled. Ethan chuckled. I suppose humans have to rely on our eyes and brains instead of innate energy senses. It seems to work well enough. Liara felt a flicker of amusement at his comment. Clever and humble, she thought. Humans truly were fascinating. Their success drew the attention of a few young Zerafin engineers who watched with curiosity. One of them, a bright-eyed apprentice named Tyrell, approached cautiously. Princess Liara, your visitor is remarkable. Most outsiders cannot interact with the Nexus without errors. Liara inclined her head gracefully. He is a quick learner. Humans have unique strengths, particularly in observation and problem-solving. Tyrell nodded, impressed. Ethan smiled politely and gave a modest shrug. Thank you, I'm just trying to understand and help. The day continued with more exploration of the Nexus. Liara guided Ethan through different sections, explaining the flow of energy, the balancing mechanisms, and the ways citizens contributed to maintaining harmony. With each task, Ethan demonstrated ingenuity, sometimes suggesting small adjustments that improved efficiency. Liara found herself quietly noting his cleverness, amazed at how humans could approach problems in ways her people sometimes overlooked. During a break, they sat on a floating platform overlooking the city. Streams of light reflected in Ethan's eyes as he gazed at the buildings below. Princess Liara, he said softly, your city is incredible. I've seen many places in the galaxy, but Zerafin feels alive. People here seem happy, purposeful. On Earth, we strive for that, but it's harder to achieve. Liara studied him carefully. He spoke with sincerity, without exaggeration or flattery. His words resonated with her. "It is a constant effort," she admitted. "Harmony is not simple, but it is essential. It is why our society thrives. Humans strive for balance as well, I believe, though in different ways." Ethan nodded thoughtfully. "Yes, we have our challenges, but we also learn from them. And I think we can learn from worlds like Zarafin too." Liara felt a warm sense of admiration. Here was a human who respected her world, learned quickly, and contributed meaningfully, all while remaining humble. It was rare to encounter someone so capable yet so grounded. Just then, a subtle shift in the energy flow caught Liara's attention. A small module in a distant section of the nexus began to flicker irregularly, causing minor imbalances in nearby conduits. It was not dangerous, but it required immediate attention to prevent further disruption. "Captain Ray," Liara said calmly, "we have a minor instability in a remote module. It will require careful coordination to stabilize it. Are you willing to assist?" Ethan's eyes sparkled. "Absolutely, lead the way." They moved swiftly but carefully through the nexus, following the energy streams to the flickering module. Liara explained the adjustments needed, and Ethan followed her instructions with remarkable precision. Yet the module's fluctuations were unpredictable, shifting slightly with each attempt. "This is tricky," Ethan said, focusing intently. "I need to anticipate the changes before they happen." Liara nodded. "Yes, pay attention to the patterns. The module responds to balance, not force. Guide it, do not control it." They worked together in harmony, their actions synchronized despite coming from different worlds. Liara directed the energy gently with her hands, while Ethan observed and adjusted in real time. Slowly, the flickering diminished and the module stabilized. "Excellent," Liara said, allowing herself a satisfied smile. "Your timing and observation were perfect. Humans are capable of remarkable problem-solving." Ethan grinned. "Thank you, Princess. I couldn't have done it without your guidance. You make it look effortless." Liara felt a quiet warmth at his praise. Humans, she realized more fully than ever, were adaptable, intelligent, and capable of learning quickly. Their strength lay not in innate energy sensitivity, but in their determination, observation, and willingness to cooperate. As they left the Nexus, Liara allowed herself a small moment of light-hearted teasing. "Captain Ray, you adapt well, but I must warn you, Zarafin has many more lessons to teach. Each one will test your focus and patience." Ethan laughed softly. "I'll take it as a challenge. I've never been one to shy away from learning." They returned to the palace, where citizens greeted them with polite nods and smiles. Liara felt a quiet pride, both in her city and in the human soldier who had shown such respect and capability. Humans were different, yes, but they were impressive in ways her people sometimes underestimated. That evening, as they watched the twin suns set from a palace balcony, Ethan turned to her. "Princess Liara, today was incredible. I never expected to experience anything like the Nexus. Your people, your planet, it's inspiring." Liara inclined her head gracefully, but inside she felt a small thrill of warmth. "I am pleased that you appreciate it. Your presence has been most helpful. Humans have qualities that my people often overlook: quick thinking, adaptability, and curiosity. You embody them well." Ethan smiled. "Thank you. I hope I can continue to learn from you and your world. There's so much I don't understand yet." Liara looked out over the city, reflecting on the day. Humans, she realized, were capable of remarkable accomplishments, not through inherent abilities, but through determination, observation, and cooperation. Ethan had proven that, and she felt a quiet admiration growing within her. And as the stars began to appear above Zarafin, she allowed herself a small, private thought. Perhaps humans are more remarkable than I imagined, and Captain Ray is no ordinary human. The morning on Zarafin began quietly, with the soft glow of the twin suns reflecting off the city's crystalline towers. Princess Liara woke early, her thoughts already drifting to Captain Ethan Ray. The past days had been filled with tour, cultural lessons, and shared tasks, yet something about the human soldier lingered in her mind. His curiosity, his cleverness, and the calm confidence with which he approached the world. Liara dressed carefully in a gown of soft, flowing fabric, its colors shifting subtly like the dawn sky. She reminded herself of her duties: diplomacy, grace, and composure. Yet today she planned a more personal tour, one that might bring her closer to understanding the human mind, and perhaps herself. Ethan waited patiently in the palace courtyard, his uniform neat, his posture respectful yet relaxed. "Good morning, Princess Liara," he greeted with a warm smile. "I'm ready for whatever adventures today brings." Liara inclined her head gracefully. "Good morning, Captain Ray. Today I will show you a quieter part of Zarafin, away from the bustling city. It is a place of reflection where many of our people go to contemplate and connect with the planet's energy." Ethan's eyes brightened. "That sounds peaceful. I'd like to see it." They moved through the streets, which were still soft with morning light. Citizens passed by with polite nods, some pausing to watch the human soldier and the princess walk together. Ethan noticed small details, like the way light bent through the crystalline buildings or the faint hum of energy in the streets. Liara observed him closely, noting his natural curiosity and gentle attention to her world. After a short walk, they arrived at a secluded garden perched above the city. Streams of energy flowed gently in midair, forming patterns that mirrored the rhythm of the planet. Floating flowers shimmered in soft hues, and delicate crystal structures reflected the light of the suns. The garden was quiet, almost serene, except for the soft rustle of energy currents. "This is one of my favorite places," Liara said softly, her voice carrying the warmth of genuine affection. "It is a place to think, to reflect, and to find balance." Ethan looked around in wonder. "It's beautiful. I can see why you come here." "It feels like the city is breathing, alive in a gentle way." Liara allowed herself a small smile. Humans often described things simply yet accurately. Their perspective was refreshingly direct, unclouded by unnecessary complexity. She guided him to a small platform overlooking the streams where they could sit. As they settled, a quiet moment passed, filled only by the soft hum of energy and the gentle ripple of light. Liara found herself unusually aware of Ethan's presence. She had met many dignitaries and travelers, yet few had managed to intrigue her so completely. He was respectful, intelligent, and adaptable, yet there was something else, a warmth that made her feel at ease without losing her composure. "I hope I'm not being too forward, Princess," Ethan said carefully, breaking the silence. "But I've enjoyed every moment of this tour. I've never seen a world like Zarafin, and I've never met someone like you." Liara inclined her head slightly, hiding the flicker of warmth she felt at his words. "Your honesty is appreciated, Captain Ray. It is rare to encounter someone who admires without pretense or expectation." Ethan smiled softly. "I think it's important. I want to understand, to learn, and to respect. I've met many people in my life, but rarely someone whose world is so harmonious. And you seem to carry that harmony with you." Liara's chest tightened slightly. She had been trained to maintain composure, yet his words stirred a feeling she could not easily name. She turned her gaze toward the horizon, where the twin suns painted the sky in gentle colors. "Harmony is a responsibility," she said quietly. "It is something I strive to maintain for the sake of my people and my planet. Sometimes it feels heavier than it should." Ethan listened intently, his expression thoughtful. "I can understand that. On Earth, people often carry responsibilities that weigh heavily on them. Soldiers, leaders, everyone has burdens, but sharing them, even in conversation, can make them lighter." Liara glanced at him, struck by his sincerity. Humans, she realized, had a way of speaking that was simple but meaningful. There were no hidden agendas in his words, no carefully measured diplomacy, just honesty and empathy. She found herself wanting to trust him, to reveal more of herself than she usually allowed. "I often wonder," she admitted softly, "if people see me as a princess first and a person second. My duties, my position, they define me more than my choices. Sometimes I fear that no one sees the real me." Ethan regarded her quietly, nodding in understanding. "I see you, Princess Liara, not just the title, but the person. The way you care about your world, your people, it speaks volumes. You are more than your role." Liara felt a warmth in her chest, a quiet reassurance that she rarely experienced. She had been cautious with visitors, keeping her thoughts and emotions carefully guarded. Yet here was a human who saw beyond her title, who recognized her efforts and her individuality. For a while they sat in silence, watching the energy streams dance and the floating flowers sway. Liara allowed herself to relax, enjoying the simplicity of the moment. Ethan's presence was calming, yet invigorating. His curiosity and respect created a space where she could reflect freely. "Tell me about Earth," Liara said after a moment. "Your planet, your people, what drives you?" Ethan smiled, pleased by her question. Earth is complicated. People are different everywhere, but we have a shared sense of curiosity and a desire to understand. We make mistakes, yes, but we try to learn from them. And we value connections, family, friends, colleagues. Those connections give us strength and purpose. Liara listened carefully. Humans valued relationships and learning, even amidst challenges. It was a philosophy different from Zerafin's structured harmony, yet equally compelling. She realized that humans had a resilience and warmth her people sometimes lacked. "And you?" Ethan asked gently. "What drives you, Princess Liara?" Liara hesitated, then spoke honestly. "I strive for balance, to maintain the harmony of my planet, to guide my people wisely. But I also seek understanding of other worlds, other people. And perhaps understanding of myself." Ethan nodded thoughtfully. "That's admirable. Many people never seek understanding beyond what they know, but you look beyond, and that takes courage." Liara felt a quiet appreciation for his words. Humans were remarkable in their straightforward honesty, in the way they observed without judgment and spoke without pretense. She realized that Ethan had not only earned her respect, but had also created a space where she could reflect on her own life and responsibilities. As the suns climbed higher, Liara suggested a gentle walk through the garden. They moved along floating paths, the streams of energy twisting gracefully around them. Ethan asked questions about the plants, their energy sources, and the philosophy behind their cultivation. Liara answered with patience, noting the way he observed not just the facts but the meaning behind them. "You notice details that many others miss," she said quietly. "You see not only the structure but the purpose behind it." Ethan smiled. "I suppose that comes from experience. On Earth, I've had to pay attention to small details to succeed, and it's easier to notice beauty when you're surrounded by it, like here." Liara allowed herself a small laugh. "Your perspective is refreshing. Humans have a way of noticing things we sometimes take for granted." They reached a quiet alcove where the sunlight filtered through crystal leaves, creating soft patterns on the ground. Liara stopped and turned to face Ethan. "Captain Ray, I am grateful for your presence. You have shown patience, curiosity, and respect. These qualities, they remind me that there is much to learn from other worlds." Ethan met her gaze sincerely. "Princess Liara, I feel the same. You've shared your world and your knowledge generously, and I feel honored to know you, even briefly." A quiet warmth spread through Liara. The human soldier's words were simple, yet deeply sincere. She realized that admiration and respect could exist across worlds, bridging differences in culture, appearance, and origin. Humans, she thought, were capable of remarkable understanding, and Ethan was living proof. As the day drew to a close, they returned to the palace. Liara reflected on their time together. She had shared her thoughts and feelings with a human, something she rarely allowed herself to do. And in return, Ethan had shared his own perspective, grounded in honesty and empathy. That evening, as the twin suns set and the stars began to shimmer above Zerafin, Liara stood on her balcony, gazing at the horizon. She thought of Captain Ethan Ray, his curiosity, his respect, and the quiet confidence with which he approached the world. Humans are indeed remarkable, she reflected, and Captain Ray, he is no ordinary human. For the first time in many years, Liara felt a sense of anticipation, not for duty, not for responsibility, but for the possibilities that lay ahead, for the connections that could be forged, and for the lessons that could be learned from another world. The morning on Zerafin was calm, the twin suns rising gently over the crystalline city. Princess Liara awoke with a mixture of anticipation and quiet melancholy. Today marked the end of the human delegation's visit, and Captain Ethan Ray would soon return to his homeworld. Though they had only spent a few days together, the shared experiences, laughter, and quiet reflections had left a lasting impression on both of them. Liara dressed with her usual grace, though a small flutter of nerves lingered in her chest. She reminded herself to remain composed. After all, she was a princess, and farewells required dignity. Yet beneath the calm surface, she felt a strange warmth. Ethan had become more than a visitor. He had become someone she admired and respected deeply. Ethan waited in the palace courtyard, as punctual and courteous as ever. His uniform was neat, and his expression polite, yet Liara sensed the subtle mix of emotions in his eyes, respect, gratitude, and perhaps a hint of reluctance. "Good morning, Princess Liara," he greeted, bowing slightly. I am ready for the journey home, though I will miss your beautiful world. Liara inclined her head gracefully. Good morning, Captain Ray. Your presence has been most welcome here. Zarafin is richer for your visit. She spoke with formality, but her voice carried a gentle warmth. They walked together through the palace corridors, their steps echoing softly on the crystalline floors. Citizens and aides watched with polite interest, noting the unusual bond between the princess and the human soldier. Liara maintained her composure, though she allowed herself to enjoy the quiet moments, brief glimpses of shared smiles, light laughter, and comfortable conversation. Before departing, Liara decided to show Ethan one last part of the city, a small observation deck that overlooked the sprawling landscape of Zarafin. From this vantage point, one could see the floating gardens, the glimmering towers, and the streams of energy flowing through the city like rivers of light. This is the city at its quietest, Liara said softly. It is a moment for reflection before the day begins in earnest. Ethan took in the view, his eyes wide with admiration. It's breathtaking. I feel like I've seen many wonders in the galaxy, but Zarafin, it has a kind of life and harmony that's rare. Your people, your city, it's inspiring. Liara felt a warmth in her chest at his words. Humans often expressed admiration simply, without exaggeration or ceremony. His respect was sincere, and it resonated deeply with her. I am glad you appreciate it, she said quietly. It is easy to take for granted what is familiar, yet you have observed and understood much in a short time. Ethan smiled, a mixture of humility and quiet pride. I've learned a great deal, Princess Liara, more than I expected. And I've come to respect not just your world, but its people, and you. Liara inclined her head, a faint blush warming her cheeks. She reminded herself again, composure, dignity, grace, yet inside she felt a quiet joy. Humans, she realized more fully than ever, possessed remarkable qualities: curiosity, adaptability, empathy, and Ethan exemplified them all. As the shuttle prepared for departure, Liara led Ethan to the landing platform. The sleek silver vessel gleamed under the morning light, its engines humming softly. Citizens and aides stood at a respectful distance, their eyes observing the final moments of the delegation's visit. Princess Liara, Ethan said, turning to her with sincerity, thank you for sharing your world with me. I will carry its lessons and beauty with me wherever I go, and I hope to return one day. Liara's chest tightened slightly. The thought of his departure was difficult, yet she maintained her calm. Captain Ray, your presence has enriched Zarafin. Your respect, your insight, and your kindness have been noted by all. You will always be welcome here. Ethan paused and reached into a small pouch at his side. He produced a simple object, a piece of earth crystal, polished and shaped into a small prism. I wanted to leave you this, he said. On Earth, we give tokens of respect and remembrance. This is a small piece of my world to remind you of our time together. Liara took the prism carefully, her fingers brushing against his for a brief moment. The warmth of the contact lingered longer than expected. She studied the prism, its clarity reflecting light in delicate patterns. It is beautiful, thank you, Captain Ray, I will treasure it. Ethan smiled softly. I'm glad, and I will remember Zarafin, the city, its people, and its princess. Liara inclined her head, holding the prism close. And I will remember you. A hush fell over the platform as the shuttle's engines powered up. Ethan turned toward the vessel, preparing to board. Liara remained composed, though her heart felt a gentle ache at the farewell. Humans were fleeting visitors in the galaxy, often passing through quickly. Yet Ethan had left a lasting impression, one she knew would not fade easily. Before he stepped aboard, Ethan turned once more. Princess Liara, may I hope that our worlds and our paths will meet again. Liara met his gaze steadily. You may, Captain Ray, and I will welcome that meeting. With a final bow, Ethan boarded the shuttle. The engines hummed, lifting the vessel gracefully into the sky. Liara watched as it ascended, the silver hull catching the light of the suns until it was a small glimmer in the distance. She held the crystal prism close, feeling the weight of its significance. In its clarity, she saw the connection between their worlds, the shared respect, curiosity, and admiration that had grown over the past days. Humans, she realized, were not merely visitors or allies. They were capable of understanding, collaboration, and inspiration. Returning to the palace, Liara reflected on the lessons learned. She had admired humans from afar, studied them in her academy, and read countless reports. But meeting Ethan Ray had changed her perspective entirely. Humans were adaptable, clever, empathetic, and capable of forging connections across worlds. They embodied qualities that her people sometimes overlooked, and their presence enriched the galaxy in ways that went beyond technology or politics. As evening fell, Liara stood once more on her balcony, gazing at the horizon. The city below shimmered with soft light, the streams of energy flowing like gentle rivers. She held the crystal prism in her hand, turning it gently to catch the light. Humans are remarkable, she thought, and Captain Ray is no ordinary human. A quiet smile curved her lips. Though their paths had diverged, she felt a renewed sense of hope and curiosity. There was much to learn, much to discover, and many more connections to forge, not only with humans but with countless other worlds across the galaxy. And for the first time in her life, Liara allowed herself to imagine the possibilities. Collaborative adventures, shared knowledge, and friendships that could span the stars. She knew that the galaxy was vast, filled with wonders and mysteries, but also filled with individuals like Captain Ethan Ray, curious, brave, and capable of making a difference. The crystal prism glimmered in her hand, reflecting the twin suns as they set. It was a small object, yet it symbolized something far greater: connection, understanding, and the shared potential of two very different worlds. Liara turned back toward the palace, her heart light and her mind filled with possibilities. The human soldier had come, observed, and left a lasting mark, not through power or force, but through curiosity, respect, and empathy. And in that, she found a quiet inspiration, one that would guide her as she continued her duties as a princess and as a bridge between worlds. As the stars began to twinkle above Zarafin, Liara whispered softly to herself, "Farewell, Captain Ray, until we meet again." And somewhere across the galaxy, in a distant shuttle traveling toward Earth, Captain Ethan Ray gazed at the stars, holding a memory of a crystalline world and a remarkable princess, feeling equally inspired, equally grateful and hopeful for the future. Though their worlds were different, their bond had been formed through respect, understanding, and shared experiences. And in the vast galaxy, that bond promised new adventures, new connections, and the endless possibility that humans, and aliens alike, could learn from one another, grow together, and find inspiration across the stars. With that thought, the shuttle continued its journey, carrying with it not only a human soldier returning home, but also a story of admiration, growth, and the quiet triumph of curiosity and empathy. And on Zarafin, Princess Liara stood in the glow of her city, her heart light, her mind open, and the crystal prism shimmering softly, a symbol of a friendship that spanned worlds, and of the remarkable qualities of humans that inspired hope for the future.